everyone. Welcome back to For the Gambia podcast. I am your host, Sering Seka. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Moto Thomas. We're back again with another Gambian today, who is a legend, a hero of Gambian football. Pretty sure if I mention his name, most people will know who he is based on what he has done for the Gambia, both player and as a coach. He's somebody I have a lot of respect for, somebody that I pretty much grew up right under his eyes. I'm going to introduce him as Mr. Uncle Bonu Johnson. There's a reason why I call him Uncle because as a child, he was one of the people that was a disciplinarian, somebody that all the kids in the neighborhood had a lot of respect for. So that will be the reason why I'll be referring to him as Uncle Bono throughout the interview. Without further ado, I will just go ahead and introduce him. Uncle Bono, we are happy to have you today.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be on your program.
Okay, so we will just go ahead and start like we normally do. We can go ahead and do English and a little bit of the local languages if you want. But we usually start with you giving us a little bit about yourself, your childhood, the schools that you've attended, and just anything that you can remember during your childhood days.
Okay. Thank you. I was born in Banjul, 60s. I grew up in Banjul, New Street. And then I went to St. John's Primary School until Primary 3 when I switched over to St. Teresa's. By then we moved to Serekunda, New Juice 1. I switched to St. Teresa's Primary School. Then in 1975, I got to St. Augustine's High School, where I did my O-levels. And in Banjul, just to recall a bit, we used to play a lot of street football, cricket. In those days, we would go to the beach to take bath, but you have to go with an elderly person. If not, when you come home, they would just lick your skin to know whether you are taking bath in the sea or not. And if you had not gone with an elderly person, you would be punished severely. In those days, Banjul was a little family. Every elderly person would discipline a child, whether he's your son, daughter, or not. So that was the understanding in Banjul those days. And it was interesting because as youths, we used to play street football and cricket, which was the most common by then. There was this basketball and volleyball. Only few people were privileged. But the majority of children in Banjul by then, we would play either street football or you have cricket because every time we would go and watch cricket by then at the Makati Square. Okay? Right. And then we moved to Serekunda. And then from there, in New Jersey also, there was this strong feeling about community football. By then we had an elderly man called Lai Sohna, who was more of a coach. He was our coach by then. He would organize us, and then we would go and play the Latrikuna people who were coached by then Jogo, the famous artists. So we always beat them. And I, myself, and Kiba Mane is now in US with you. We were the youngest. And every time Lai Sohna would quarrel with the other elders because they would want to play, but Lai believed that we were better than them. And anytime he played us, either myself or Kebabu would be the match winners. So that was the beauty of community football by then. So, but I would have to use this opportunity to say a big thank you to Reverend Father Goff, late Father Goff. He played a vital part in my sports career because he was not compromising with training. I was in the same class with Peter Gomez of West Coast. And there was a day we came late to school, and he just sent me home and left Peter Gomez, but people did not understand because I missed training the previous day. So he instilled that discipline in us. You would do your academic works, but that will not stop you from playing football, doing your sports program. So he helped us in instilling that discipline in us. So today I would say he played a very vital part in forming me to be the person I am, being a good footballer, ending up being a good coach. I think he played a very vital role, assisted by Ansumana Tangara now in Germany as well. He also helped. Anytime Father Goff was not there, he would push me to the last stage to make sure he get the best out of me. So these are two people definitely I can't forget in my coaching career and my playing days. They helped me really.
Thank you.
And then
Go ahead, Mr. Bonu. Go ahead.
yeah, and then by then, as I was explaining, if you were in St. Augustine's High School, because Father God formed the Roots Football Club, there was this Young Africans which was in the first division, and then he formed Roots, which was a feeder team to Young Africans, and that's where myself, we qualified the team to the third division, and then I had to leave because by then I had my childhood team, Flamemins Football Club. It was a bitter fight between myself, Father Goff, and the rascal Tijan Masa Nesise was the one pushing him that I should come and play for Roots. But I only played for them the qualifying rounds. And when we qualified, I told Father categorically I have to go back to Flamemins. Right. It was a big fight the first months, but after Father understood my problem and allowed me, I was the only student in St. Augustine's High School, and Dan Owens, the brother of Komi Owens, we were the only two students who were in the school and not playing for Roots Football Club, because we made it clear to Father we have to continue with Flamemins. Our allegiance was with Flamemins because that was a childhood team that we grew up with. So he allowed us to play in our respective teams.
Thank you for letting us know that, and we would like to take this opportunity on behalf of everybody from For the Gambia podcast to send out our respect and condolence to Father Goff and everybody that he has inspired, because whether you have interacted with him or not, directly or indirectly, he has influenced and made a name in the Gambia when it comes to sports, and we want to send out our respect to Father Goff's family and everybody that he has inspired and helped. Coming back to you, Bonu, let me just move forward. If you can tell us, how were you recruited to join the national team, the Scorpions, and could you remember when was your first international game with the Scorpions, and how were you recruited to the team?
Yeah, my first invitation was 79-80. By then they were supposed to go to Senegal. But for that, I declined at the last minute because I was preparing for my GC O-levels. So, because, as I said, Father Goff, when we were in St. Augustine's High School, if you are a sportsman, for me, he encouraged me. I had to go to the junior seminary. Myself, Father Sonko, Peter Gomez, Eustace Castle, and he encouraged us. And there you have to do both academic and sports. So it was out of my competition in the school, football, and the third division by then, that I was recruited for the junior team. But in 1979-80, I was preparing for my GCE O-level, so I declined. I went out of camp, said I have to prepare. So, but after 1982 or 3, when we are supposed to go to Algeria again, I had an injury, and then in 84, 85, I came with the junior team. We went to Guinea. And then after that Guinea game, we were supposed to go to Ghana. But unfortunately, 3 days before we departed, by then all the tickets had been bought. I had a serious injury. In fact, some of the GFF executives were annoyed with me because they felt that I could have gone and they would give me painkillers to play. But out of respect, I told them, even if you do that, what the expectations, because those who know me very well, I was a very aggressive defender. I would compromise with no striker. So I told them, you would not have the best out of me. So I would be very unfair to go on that ship. So I have to decline. It was unfortunately we lost, and they put the blame on me that it was because I was not there. But my health is more important, and that gave me a longer period in the national team. I think here also I need to thank Dr. Jones, who was working at the Royal Victoria Hospital. He told me categorically, Claire, these are the options. Yes, we could give you that, but after match you would have the pain. So you have to decide. We can do it, but it's your choice. Then after taking his advice, I said, look, I want to play at a longer period. So I declined not to go because the healing process would have been very difficult. So from there, then 85, 86, I was promoted to the senior team, but I was still playing for the junior team as well. And my first senior tournament was in Dakar when we had this Zone 2 there. Unfortunately, it ended up very tough because we had a big problem in our semi-final match with Senegal. I think those who watched it knew that it was not fair play, really. So from there, I continued playing in the national team until in 1994 when I had my accident in Congo when I scored the goal there, the equalizing goal. Unfortunately, I had an accident on my eye, so that was where I stopped playing active football and concentrated on coaching.
Okay, Uncle Bonu, for me as a child, our neighborhood team was Flamemins, as you know.
Yeah.
Can you just give us a brief history of how Flamemins came about and where is Flamemins now?
Yeah, Flamemins, if you look at the name, it's flame and mint, meaning friends living and motivating each other in national success. Okay, as I told you earlier, it was a youthful thing. We used to go together, we go to school, and then when we have our so-called Christmas or Tubaski feasting, we would come together and have a party. And we started in the third division, and then rose to the second division, and then to the fourth division. Fortunately for us, in our fourth division, we won our first trophy there. But now the team start to say it's back in the third division. But this is a team that have groomed a lot of players in the Gambia. I think most of the key players that we have, some of them came from Flamemins Football Club. And this was a team of New Youth One with young men, myself, Mike Stanley, the late Albert Pereira. You can name them, Zach Conte. And from those days, then you come the Ezekiel Johnson, Chapoy, so you have them, and now unfortunately the team has gone to the third division. We are still strong there. But it was a team. It was seen as the academy of Gambian football. I think our team, Flamemins and Hawks, were seen as the academy because we recruit young players. That's why anytime they take our players, the young Cooper Caesars, all of them came from Flamemins Football Club. Okay, so.
Yeah, I remember those because
in the third division, and then to the second division, where we spent longer years, and then finally to the fourth division. And we spent almost 5 years in the fourth division before we were relegated to the second division again. So this is all about Flamemins. Now we are struggling to come back. Last year, almost our last game, if we had won it, we would have gone up again, but unfortunately we drew. So we are fighting it out this season. I think we are second in the table, but the league has a problem and it's at a standstill at the moment. So this is all about Flamemins Football Club. We are still surviving, though funding is a bit tough, but we are managing.
Yes, I remember being a child. I mean, I used to be very angry when I see some of our players go to these other big teams. Just like you said, it was just like an academy. When I saw the folks like Keba Mane went to Walidan, when I saw folks like Ibu Kebe went to Hawks, that is just when I started. Going to Real, Port. Exactly.
All the so-called big teams, we have been matching our players.
Yes, that is absolutely true. But just to move on a little bit, in your coaching career. Right after you finished your duty in the national team, you went straight into coaching. What got you into coaching?
Actually, I started coaching even when I was in the national team. Because by then, Flamemins, we were in the second division. I think I played, all the time I was in the national team, I was in the second division until 1992 when we were promoted to the fourth division. Here I need to acknowledge the efforts of our former coaches, the late Joseph Jame, Paul Mendy, and now Paul Silva. He was the coach of Augustinians. I think Paul Silva have set up a record which no coach have set up in the Gambia because he took Augustinians, was almost there. From the third division, one season they came back to the second division. From second division, they came to the fourth division, and from there, they won the league, beating Walidan 2-0 in the final game. I think this man was, I would say, the most good Samaritan, because despite we were in the second division together, he would at times leave his club, come and help us in coaching. And coaches, and I learned a lot from him with the former director of youth and sports, Cherno Bara Toure. He had special love for Flamemins because he see that we always nurture young players, and these were the players, big clubs we are snatching. So he had that love for Flamemins. He would come once or twice in a week to help us. And the late Max Nyai referee, that's why I think Flamemins did something that no club has ever done. And it was through the assistance of late Max Nyai referee. That is having a penalty kick and two people kicking it, which Messi and this guy, Neymar, I don't know, Suarez did, and people were surprised. I said, this is a goal. Max Nyai told us, explained that to us, and we did it in the second division, and the other club was a goal. So these were people who helped me in my coaching career. Paul Silva played a very vital part. He would come and tell me the tactics he's using with Augustinians, how he does it, and I started coaching. And when I was in the national team, whenever I come back, the players and the coaching staff will say, oh, come and teach us what you have learned from the national team. And I will bring those tactics and those training drills to the team. So, in actual fact, I would say I started coaching after 86 in Zone 2 in Dhaka. So, I was more of a player coach. We had our coaches, but I was labeled as the assistant coach. I would do all the training drills and so forth, and they would do their final selection. So, that was how I entered into coaching until I had my accident. By then, I was coaching Flamemins, but as a player. So after the accident, I decided taking coaching on a full-time job. But by then, I have started with the youth and sports as a sports coach. So it was after my accident in 1994 that in 1995, with the assistance of the Olympic Committee through George Gomez, I had my first training course in Hungary, when I had to go in 1995 for a training course for my coaching diploma. And thanks be to God, everything went well. But before then, in 1993, I had an Olympic, the FIFA always organized this Olympic Solidarity course, high-level coaching. That one I did it in 1990, okay, and then continued because I was also in accounting. I did my management development with the MDI in 1989. Then in 1990, I was taken to Spain to do a IT program on hotel data about reservations and so forth. 1993, that was the first time we have a degree coaching in the Gambia. So I was privileged. By then, the assistant of Frank Bakem Guafel, the OSEC, was there, who was the coordinator of the course. And then in 1994, we had the Futuro Development Program. Despite that, when I came to the youth and sports, I had to do the Civil Service Management Development Program in 1996, and then continue with my coaching course, because it was that same year also I did the sports leadership course with the Olympic Committee, and then continue in 1997 with another high-level coaching course again. So after I concentrated more on coaching rather than my accounting job, the passion I had for football had to allow me to carry on with my coaching job, and I put aside my accounting job, though at times I would work some consultancy with certain companies.
Okay. All right. If you're just joining us, you listen to For the Gambia podcast. Our guest today is Bonu Johnson, former Gambian international defender, coach, and a Gambian legend in sports. Mr. Bonu, let's go back to you being the defender. You were known to be very aggressive, as you alluded earlier. But in every sport, we all have our nemesis. If you can tell us, who was your striker, who you would consider as your nemesis, who gave you tough time during your career? Whenever you were about to face that individual, it was tough for you. If it is one individual or two individuals, who were your nemesis when it comes to strikers as a defender?
Yeah, I think the two strikers that I had problem with was Polo Rossi and Malewala. Because for them, they would use their strength on me. They knew that I was privileged to have a jumping power, but they knew all that in me, and Male was my senior at Senegal State. And they were all in groups, because at times I was training with young Africans when we were working. Father would easily push me to the senior team to train with them. So they knew my strength. It was an zonal game, but we ended up winning them by the loss.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime I jumped, they would just come and just hit me mercilessly. And they were doing it intentionally because they knew I was a problem for them. But thanks be to God, we were able to overturn the dice and win them. But these were the two people definitely who would always give me problem whenever we meet in the field of play. Because
how about when
never stay away when it comes to aerial ball.
How about when it comes to outside the Gambia, your international opponents, especially let's say Senegal and the sub-region, who were your toughest opponents?
I think our toughest opponent was this Ghanaian that we had. In fact, he ended up giving an ankle injury. It was not Lamte. I forgot the name. He was their flank player. He was very good in dribbling. And I was moved from the central defender to play left back just to stop him. And it was that game. Unfortunately, when I came out, that was the time they scored us and won us 1-0. It was one of those were the Senegals, with due respect, definitely they never gave us a problem. In fact, I was surrounded by experienced players, and they made me so, how would I put it? I did not care anybody because I had Lamin Owens, I have the late Judu Sen, I have Pamuna, fullback, and I have Alpha. And they would say, I could fully remember our game in Guinea. They had this there Amara Toure. Anytime he had the ball, I would just get him. And I was always lucky to get him with the ball. And the Guineans were so furious. And there was one that I got him, they all came to attack me. And Lamin from nowhere came pushing them. And then Pamela said, no, before people could know Lamin Owens, I've headed this guy. So I was protected because I was lucky to be among experienced players who were there. So I was not having much problem because that gave me an edge over my opponent. And they knew that I could also build attack. And they would push me, they lead themselves. Like I did my man, people find it, I just go. So I was definitely comfortable playing with them because I was protected and I had people to cover me up. So that's why it was more of an easy thing for me. That's why when I got a striker, you have a problem because they knew there was only this funny incident that happened. We were playing Guinea Conakry, and then they had this professional, as we call him here, Boof. He was just big. But for a great Dudu he said, no, like a Kima Kojil, not knowing this guy was a sprinter. And there was this ball that was just dropped on the flank. And Sim was just following this man like what would I say? He was struggling. And when he came back, he said, Saka, be supposed to be more. And she was, I could not understand and be. I can't even be here. But I was enjoying myself, really. Honestly, in the national team, I was really enjoying myself because I had experienced players who would always make me believe that I am better than the strikers in front of me. So this was the advantage I had and the privilege I had playing among these big guys. And I have some long Saho behind me. So I was not having much problem, honestly, in my international career. Because anywhere we go, I would play comfortably. Even when I was moved to fullback, I would overlap and make good crosses for my strikers. So I was protected and had very experienced players around me. So I was lucky.
Okay. If you can refresh my memory and so many others listening, growing up as a child and loving the Scorpions, the cause was Senegal. Senegal has always been an obstacle. Senegal has prevented Gambia from moving forward in so many competitions. And if you can just explain to us why was that? It was always either a 1-0, 2-1, 1-0, 2-1, and or last minute disappointment. And I heard a story. I don't know how accurate this story is about when, I don't know if you were in that team when Malewada was playing and they have this goalkeeper called Seseka. Were you in that team?
I was in that team.
Okay. When they have Seseka, from what I've heard, it is a very funny narration that there was a time that Seseka was so furious about Malewada's striking power that he was heard saying Japan ma numero 14 bu Gambie. How accurate was that?
That was true. In fact, Mali 16, I think we was unfortunately the last day before. I don't know what happened. He did not travel with the team to Senegal.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely, Mali was a threat not only for Senegal, but for all West African countries.
Mm-hmm.
Because Mali, it was just a special talent we had.
Mm-hmm.
He was intelligent. He knows where to position himself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you see, being a footballer and playing volleyball and basketball gives you an added advantage when it comes to aerial balls.
Yeah.
And that was the edge Mali have over all the defenders he played against.
Mm-hmm.
You can never stop Mali Wada when it comes to aerial balls. You can never.
Mm-hmm.
You would put two defenders in front of him, he would outjump them and make sure he knocks that ball where he wants it. So that was the advantage he has. And our opponents, most in West Africa, they knew him. Not the Ghanaians, not the Senegalese, the Guineans, the Malians. They all knew Mali Wada. Mm-hmm. When he's there, you expect he's scoring you with his feet. All of a sudden, he uses his head.
Mm-hmm.
It was another biri in the making. Mm-hmm. But Mali was just great when it comes to aerial balls. You cannot stop him. That was an advantage he had over all the defenders in the zone. He had proven himself in Ghana, Senegal, Guinea-Conakry, Mali, Mauritania, everywhere we travel in Mali. He had proven himself when it comes to aerial ball. He was just a special talent Gambia had.
So, Uncle Bonu, it looks like you did play with two generations, the generation of Baye Mali Wada, the Aziz Kors, and also the generation of the Jato Cises, the Cho Jalos, you know.
Yeah.
How will you compare those two generations? Because you were right in the middle of it.
Yeah, I think the generation Wadas, those were more passionate and more committed. We were doing it out of love we have for the game. No matter how difficult it is, we believe we could go over it. And then you have the next generation. It was more of entertaining the public rather than going for the most needed thing, the result. Well, we were easily comfortable when we score one or two goals. So I think the passion and commitment we had in the first generation, if we can replicate it in this generation coming, I think we would have better players in the national team. I think irrespective of where we used to come, we were eager to go to Chinatown. It was a passion for us to be together, and you see the team spirit in the camp. And if one is absent, everybody would take the trouble. And by then there were no mobile phones, but we would make sure we make contacts to know what is happening. That guy is in camp. It was a true team spirit. The commitment was more in the first generation than now. I don't know why it's still dropping. We are trying to look where the jigsaw puzzle is, but it's so difficult. Some are saying the money incentives is playing a part on it, team commitments, but I think that generation were more passionate and more committed. No matter what, they were ready to work for the nation.
So right now, you have been directly involved in Gambian football for about 4 decades now, because you played in the 70s, and we have seen all of our neighboring countries. I mean, Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, Cape Verde, Mali. All of these guys have been in major competitions, except us. And you have been a coach of the national team, and you've been a player also. From your perspective, what is the problem? How do we move forward?
Yeah, the problem is all about planning and organization. That's our biggest problem. Even at least Sangdong was given privilege to go around and see some of the players, which had never happened when we have our homegrown coaches. So I think we need to go back from the foundation, because if you look at most of the players in the senior team now, I would say half of them or 3/4 haven't played in the junior levels. And that has an advantage over when you come to the senior level. It was unfortunate that the present executive of the Football Federation withdrew the under-17. I think that is affecting our pyramid. I think the foundation has to come from the under 17. Because if you look at the players we select them from clubs, especially the homegrown players. Our biggest problem now is the foundation. Because most of the players who have been selected, even for this CHAN team, the national home-based players, you see, some of them, this is their first international exposure. So they haven't got that international experience. So I think the best thing we have to do is try to qualify for the under 17 because, as I said, in one of the meetings I was privileged to attend in CAF, I challenged the technical director. I said, look, the way we organize our qualifying rounds for our junior teams is not helping our youth football. And they said, explain now. I said, look, instead of making this group under 17 qualifiers into groups, you make it on a knockout. So if a country is eliminated in the fourth stage, that group of players will not have any international football for the next 2 years. So what is the nurturing we are talking about? Foundation. There is no foundation, CAF. You haven't given us any good foundation. So they promised that they would look into that to start making the under 17, under 20 into groups so that at least each country you would play 6 times to expose that group of talents you have. But if you are unfortunate, you play one qualifier, you are out. And then in the Gambia, our problem is we sit until it is 2 months to the competition and you expect the coach to select team and make miracles. I was lucky when I was selecting the under 17 because by then Pafwai qualified to Swaziland. I took the remnants of that team and started building on that foundation. And that is the Osjalos, the Mumudu Sises, the people you are hearing now. But now we don't have that structure. After that, in 2009, we won it. Only 2 players out of that group were able to make it to professional football. All the others dropped along the line. There is no continuity. I think the best thing we have to do, we have to help our young players, the under 17s, groom them. I think at times they are not fair with the homegrown coaches. Because if I could fully remember when the Egyptian was here, when he failed his first hurdle in the under 17, he continued. He was given 1 year to prepare for the 2009 qualifier. And we qualified. So this is our problem. We don't plan. We just sit down and wait until a month to the competition and we expect the coach and players to work miracles. I've challenged the federation whilst I was there. And another problem we are facing now, the way we play our league. Because presently we are rushing the league to finish it before the Ramadan. When other countries are playing in the Ramadan, our neighbor Senegal, Mauritania, we are having competition for our home-based players in June. You are trying to finish the league in May, and these home players you have selected will not have any competition from May to June, and you expect them to play a very good game, a competition against June with clubs, with countries that are playing their league. We stand no chance if that is continued. We've sent the signals, we've appealed to them, but they are still not listening. So these are some of the things that is affecting our football. Because some of the players who have gone to professionals, yes, they are there, but are they having enough match fitness? So these are things we need to look and then strategize. I think the technical department has a big job to do. If we need to be like the Guinea-Bissau, the Cape Verde, those countries were far behind us in the 80s. But now look where they are. Because they have a good structure, they stick to it. But this is our problem. With due respect, I think Osam Dudu, when he left here, he encouraged us to continue with these youth development programs. But since he left, all those things are collapsing. And that is the foundation of the senior team. So this is our biggest problem. Unless we stick to it and make sure we try to help the under 17, the under 20 to qualify in all these categories, then it will be difficult for us at the senior level because we would only have fresh faces in the senior team without any international experience. So these are some of our shortcomings that we need to work very hard to overcome, and then we would be there. We have the talent. It's just planning to nurture them and prepare them for the competitions. But we always start late. That is our biggest problem.
Definitely, I agree with that. On a personal level, as a former national team player, Mr. Johnson, what game or games would you consider to be your best highlight moments as a player?
Yeah, I would say it was in Guinea Conakry. 87, by then Biri and Alaji Silla were there. I think that was one of my best games, I think, because though I was playing in the defense, but in the end, that's why I said I was blessed, because Lamin always was playing as a defensive midfield player, and we all know his flow.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime we are building attack, he would push me, and in fact, he was almost arrested. Gone at me because I was a stumbling block for the Guineans.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is one of my best games. Despite I scored in Congo, because that Alaji Silla had to position me not to leave the defense. And it was in a corner kick that I was able to score that goal. Because seeing my height, they underrated me. They did not know I was having jumping power. So that was the last goal I scored. But I would say this game in 86, 87 in Guinea Conakry, by then Giri was the coach, assisted by Alaji Silla, was one of my best games, because by then I was really free, because I was moving the whole 90 minutes. Sangdong will keep on shouting me to come back. I mean, with his mark, so I definitely enjoyed that game, because I was not playing as a defender, though I was defending very well. Mm-hmm. But whenever we are having the attack, in fact, in the last minute, I could have scored a goal, but the late Saul Samba also, in fact, very hard to insult him. It was a counter attack that I intercepted, and I break through their midfield player, and he was the last man with the last defender. The defender just came. I gave him the ball to give me a one-touch pass, and I would be face-to-face with the goalkeeper. He held onto the ball. Biri shouted on him and insulted with an additional, but it was almost the last minute. So that game was one of my best, I would say, for the nation.
Thank you, Mr. Bonu. And as a defender, is there any defender that you derive your motivation from, that you will consider as a role model, whom you have learned or stolen some skills from during your playing days? And currently, right now, who's your favorite defender?
During my playing days, this Alan Hansen at Liverpool, I was a Liverpool fan, and I know he was this calm guy.
Mr. Johnson, you're about to spoil the conversation.
No, you are not.
I'm a Manchester fan.
I'm a Manchester United fan.
My God.
No, I'm a Liverpool fan. Uncle Bonu. Don't worry about it.
Fan.
Yes.
We never walk alone. That's why we are together.
Exactly. I know that we used to have the best team in the 80s and the 90s. I mean, Liverpool is the champion of England. So I know Pasabajau.
They promoted English football.
I know that Pasabajau is not going to like this because he's a Manchester United fan.
My God.
But we are the truth.
Don't mind him. Pasabajau is always opposition. Don't mind him.
Exactly. We are the true champions of England.
Yeah, right. Uncle Bono, I thought I'm gonna say this in Wolof. Dama don fogg ne sax yaa ngi tudda benn Manchester player. Waaye nga ne ma Liverpool?
No, ñun Liverpool lañ. Xam nga Liverpool mënut a support Manchester.
Exactly.
The sympathizer Manchester.
Wow.
Ñun Liverpool lañ. No, in those days, Liverpool had a good team, and definitely Daniel, I used to copy a lot from Alan Hansen.
Wow. Okay. So, Uncle Bonu, you touched on something, Lo Hamdani. I would really like you to talk a little bit about it. Was the under-20, because you were the one who led the team, the under-20 team, in the 2007 World Cup in Canada. And I think you were also involved in the team that was that beat Brazil in Peru in 2005. I think it was pretty much the same team.
Yeah, it's more or less the same team.
Yes, I think it was just Modou Cissé Zico who did not make it to the one in 2007. But what can you tell us about that team? Because for me, I think that was one of the best teams that Gambia has ever assembled. And I was hoping that they will nurture that team for it to be able to become the national team. And I was hoping that we will have some success with that team. What happened?
Yeah, I think along the line, things the whole plan was left. As I told you, that team in 2005, PAFI qualified in 2001, and we could not qualify in 2003. So I took over in 2004. and used the remnants of that team to build that team, and then started bringing young players into that team. And this was the team. Luckily, we had Osam Dudu, who was hired by the Olympic Committee to come and help us. And he did extremely well because during his time, we had 3 trophies that we won. Okay, and then this team continued. But what happened the week before we went to Peru, I had to be moved to the under-20 to start preparing the under-20. So when they came back, we continued with the under-20. We went to Ivory Coast for the WAFU tournament and qualified for the finals, but unfortunately that final was never played because it was ourselves, Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Nigeria who were supposed to play the finals, but it never took off. So when they came back, we started regrouping the team, preparing for the under-20. And I think our qualification was in the Gambia when we had to beat Mali here. And I think that was one of the toughest experience I got because it was during Ramadan and some of the players had to fast. But thanks be to God, we were able to overcome Mali and qualify. The sad part is when we went to Congo, we won the bronze. And we were the first team to qualify for the World Cup in the African continent. And we won the bronze, and we were selected by CAF to go to South Korea in friendly tournaments. For that, we did not do well. And then we came and started preparation. But as I was telling you, the way we run our league here also affected our preparations for the 2007 World Cup. Because even the professionals who train twice a day, it is not every week that they play midweek matches. It varies. But here, if you check the time we train only 2 hours, and out of that 2 hours, you do active work of possibly 1 hour, 10 minutes. And so we appealed to the GFF to stop the midweek matches, which was never done. So we only had, if we took our preparations here, we only had 2 weeks of effective preparations here and 10 days in US. That was how we went to the World Cup. And thanks be to God, we were able to reach the second round. But when we came, I think our biggest mistake was in 2012 when Paul Put withdrew from the Olympic team. I think if we had registered, this same team could have qualified because by then you have the Os Jaros, the Zikos, the Seni Sanas, all of them in the senior team, and they were still under 23. And who was our opponent? Benin. We could have easily qualified for the Olympics in London, but they withdrew the team. And that team started gelling together at the senior level, but unfortunately things fell apart again. And since then, that's why I said if we don't have a good under-17, under-20, the senior team would be affected. Because if you look at that generation, those were the people who were up to the time of Paul Pot when he was coming. These were the players that played in the under-17, under-20, and were promoted to the senior team. But now, even the 2019 champions of the under-17, I think Abdunya is the only one playing now, if my memory serves me well. So who else do we have from any of the junior categories? None. So we have to go back to the grassroots, have a good under-17 team, help them to come to the under-20, and then there is continuity in them coming to the senior team. But without that, it will be difficult to have a team like that again, because most of the players that are selected now, you will just select them from the league, and then straight into the national team. It's true, playing, but when it comes to international, I think there is. So this is the problem we are having now. And now the recruiting players, we believe to be Gambians are playing in Europe. Yes, but how many test matches do we organize for the coach? Sangam? None. So if we don't have test matches, how can Sangam see those players and try to see which players can get together for the betterment of this country? So this is our biggest problem.
So right now,
the national coach.
So right now, where does this problem need to be addressed? Does it need to be addressed to the Ministry of Youth and Sports, or the GFA, or National Sports Council? Who is responsible for this problem?
GFF, collaboration with the Sports Council and the ministry, because FIFA had made it categorically clear that national teams belong to countries. So it's the ministry, the government, who should do the funding. We don't have a sponsor for the national. I think they should get effort to make sure at least they meet the demands of the national coach. because the national coach will always give them a program. This is what I want to prepare this team so that we could achieve this. But if 60% of that is not met, how do you expect that coach to qualify the team? Because the most important thing is test matches. When have you ever had Gambia, the international break, friendly games, Gambia play? All the countries around our surrounding, even Guinea-Bissau, Cape Verde, they will be playing. Gambia will not be playing, and we expect to go and beat those countries who are already prepared their teams. This is our problem. Unless we overcome this hurdle, no matter what, we will have a problem. Because the players, you only have them 5 days for international match. Some will travel 2 days. So they came the third day, they have to rest. You just have to train with them 1 day. So if you don't use the international window to organize friendly games, the coach will not have enough time to look at the players and, look, if I use Modu Thomas and Bonu and Pasering, they would gel well. Oh, no, they will not gel well. The coach will not know it. You just have 1 day or 2 days most to prepare this professional and play your competition. That's right. Nobody can work miracle in that. Yeah. It's only luck. When more than luck is on your side that you would win. Because the other teams are preparing, having friendly games. Now they know who can gel with each other. So the coach will not hesitate in selecting the 20 players they need. But when it comes to the Gambia, you don't. This is our problem. Unless we start correcting that, it will be a problem for us to qualify.
Yeah,
because the coach is not given enough time to have friendly games. When the window, everybody is having friendly games, the last minute it's been cancelled. What's the problem? No money. We need to work out and make sure we get out of those hurdles to make sure the coach is given enough chance.
Yeah,
without that, we had an agreement with Morocco. That was what privileged Sang to have 2 test games there. And still people are complaining. Because if you don't have, it's through these test games that you know your weaknesses and then you overcome it and work on your strong areas. But if you don't have these test games, it will be difficult for any coach, whether he's a foreign coach or a homegrown coach, to make a mess. And it's sad. If you look at the history, these past years, foreign coaches would be given enough test games. When it's a homegrown coach, no money, no weekend, last minute they would cancel. I think unless we start putting our house in order, it will be difficult. Because the senior team, where every nation is measured, if we don't have test matches for the senior team, it will be difficult for the coach to rely on them. The under-20s, under-17s is easy because most of them are homegrown players. You have time to work with them. You know who is who. But at the senior level, these are professionals playing in different countries. And the FIFA ruling is 5 days from the day of the competition that they are supposed to travel to come to you. Some will take 2 days. Unless we overcome that hurdle, it will be very difficult for whoever is in the senior team.
So now, Uncle Bonu, as we know, your brother, I can call him your cousin or your friend, Mr. Henry Gomez, who was even involved in Flamemins at one time. He is now the minister of youth and sports now. So what is your message to Henry? I'm sure he will listen to this, and I'm sure he has a lot of respect for you. What will you tell him?
Yeah, I think he's according to him, he's now studying all the departments under his purview, and he has already appointed Mr. George Gomez at the Sports Council, who is well experienced, and if he listens to them and they work together, I think we can make headway. It's a matter of planning well and then implementing. We are good planners here. We can plan fantastic programs, but to implement it, that's always our problem. So I would urge him to make sure he talks to the new executive, the president, and the cabinet to support sports, because without it will be difficult for any coach, whether you are a foreign coach or a homegrown, because all our problem is preparation. And if we don't have good preparation, the expectations are very high. And the social media also is not helping us, because some of these players, they would play 10 minutes, 15 minutes, newspapers would put them on their back page. Oh, Bonnie Johnson played in this game, his team won. Not knowing that maybe I played 10 or 15 minutes. And all these things are because when the coach doesn't invite everybody start, but they did not check whether this guy has markets. And all these things mean, because we have a technical team, the coach has his technical team. From time to time, he should be privileged to go and see these players and talk to their coaches so that you would have that understanding with these clubs. And until we start implementing these plans very well, it will be difficult. So all we can help my brother and friend is to make sure to help the federation, not only football, all the other federations to have good funding. If they have good funding and have good preparation, definitely Gambians are talented. If we are given the right preparations, then definitely we would deliver.
Yeah, definitely. So right now, as a coach, I just want you to talk about your coaching style, and I'm going to give you two names, and you tell me which one of these coaching styles you relate to most. Are you a player's coach like Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool, or are you a authoritarian like Mourinho at Man United? Which one are you?
No, I'm like Jurgen Klopp, because at times I would even stop my players, get into the field and show them what they are going to do. So I'm just like Jurgen Klopp. Because I have that understanding with my player, despite I take the final decisions, there is that understanding of, I try to make them to believe in my philosophy. This is what I want. This is what it is.
Oh, okay. So right now, before we end this program, I just want you to tell me, from all your playing years, if you were to assemble a Gambia 11 of all the with all the players that you've played with and some of the ones that you've coached also, can we start? Can you give me a Gambia 11 starting from the goalkeeper?
Wow. That will be tough.
I know. And you can include yourself if you want to. You can also include yourself if you want.
So to select a Gambian 11?
Yes, based on all these years that you've been involved in Gambian football.
Wow.
So we start with the goalkeeper. That's going to be who?
The goalkeeper, I will put Sandon there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the left back and right back?
Left back, I will put Pochi Sarr there. I know you forgot, you don't know Pochi Sarr. He played with, led themselves, Bonu and the Sehu Sars.
Right. And then right back, we do who?
Right back, what's his name here? Is it not, he was in Real. He played with Coming Owens as right back in Real. What's the name again?
Okay, we can move forward until you remember that one. How about the two central defenders? Who will they be?
Two central defenders would be myself and late Dudu Sen.
Okay, now we're going to the midfield now. Are you doing a 4-5-1 or are you doing a 4-4-2?
I would say 4-4-2.
Okay. So who are these midfielders?
Yeah. Midfielders, I would have Lamin Oils as the defensive midfield player. On the right, I would have Joe Gomez.
And is Joe Gomez...
We used to call him Bruno Conte.
Is Joe Gomez...
He's in the US there.
Okay, I wasn't sure whether Joe Gomez is the same as Joe Tennis or what.
No, not Joe Tennis.
Okay.
Joe Gomez, we used to call him Bruno Conte. He played in Young Africans. He was in Serekunda.
Okay, so we have two more for the midfield.
And then on the left, you'll have Joe Tennis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then in front of them, the offensive midfield player. You have 3 or 4 to select one. I would take Jatu Cisse there.
Okay. And how about your two strikers?
The two strikers, as a score would be one, and Biri would be the second one.
All right. Well, that's great. I mean, I think that's a pretty good team, in my opinion. But before we end this program, I just want you to talk about some of these people that are not with us anymore, and these are people that were involved in Flamemins a lot. I remember some of them. Somebody like Rans, somebody like Jawo, somebody like Emil Koli. We also have Albert Pereira, and then my Uncle Joseph Jame. What can you just tell us briefly about some of these guys?
These guys were one of the most committed, and I think they were the back of Flamemins Football Club.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we start with Ranford Stanley, you know how committed he was, and he was a no-nonsense defender.
Yes.
Emil Cooley, we used to play at the central midfield at times. We would move him up as a midfield player, and I would go up and he would stay at the back. And then Jao, I think when we needed most the services of a secretary general, I think Matthew Jao lived up to the expectations and he delivered very well.
Yes.
And he helped us administratively very well. And he was a good motivator. He can come and challenge us. Why do them? You can do it. We believe in you. And he was a good motivator.
Yes.
Okay. Then Jame, I would say he was one of our toughest coach, and he made us to be the fittest team in the whole GFA league. We would never play a game without that team getting tired.
Yes.
We would always make sure we push up to the last second of the game. We never gave up. And when we are in training, Jame would not spare anyone, more especially myself being the captain. He was just a tough coach. He doesn't compromise. But out of the training field, he's the most person with a sense of humor. He would make everybody laugh. He was just a good mixer. You would not know that he's older than us generations. You would think that he's our companion. But when he's in the field to work, he's a different person. He doesn't compromise that. And then I would say Flamemins survived because of Albert Ferreira. Because to be honest, after our fourth season at the third division, by then, yes, big clubs were coming for me left, right, center. Albert and my brother Nats were those who, they just told me two simple things. Well, it's your choice. But we started this together and play well your part. That's where the honor lies. We don't care what happens. It's up to you. Choose one. When I sat down and went to my room and think, I said, no. We cannot start all these years. And I came up to this part and I just abandoned them. I said, no. And that made me to stay in Flamemins. And Albert was he was a player. We ended up running the team and he would run left, right, center. He was a good motivator. When he comes to the dressing rooms, when we were officers, the moment he opened his mouth and talked to the players, they understood, and he would just talk one or two words, but these are people Flamemins can never forget because they contributed immensely in the present generation of Flamemins playing, not only in our playing careers, but they were school for after, because we always had that notion that, Albert was the backbone of the team, because even during his playing days, I could fully remember when we came from Guinea Conakry. I had came with an injury and we were supposed to play a league game. Albert had to convince me that I can play even with that injury and we would win. And by the first half we were being led by 2-0, but he was able to convince me. And when I came in, thanks be to God, we were able to overturn the whole diet and won 3-2. So he was not only an officer, he was a motivator. As he lived, he was a teacher. He can make you believe that you can be the best person in the field of play. And he helped the team through his connections with Mr. Jao, the former headmaster of St. Teresa's. Albert did a lot for Flamemins. We cannot definitely pay Albert. I think we would continue playing for him and for his family here. That the good Lord, what he had worked, his family would enjoy this. These are people we can never forget. And in the same vein, I would like to thank Mr. Ola Roberts and Nathaniel Johnson. These were people also, they were our elders, but they guided the team to what the team became, a household name in the Gambia. So we thank them very much for all they have done for the team. Cherno Bara Toure, who have been leaving his job, coming to help us. Paul Silva, all those are coaches who have helped Flamemins. And these are great names, though some of them are not really recognized. Like Paul Silver, I think if I was to give an award today, I would give it as the best coach. People always try to push me there. I would say Mr. Paul Silver, because bringing a team from the third division up to the fourth division and winning the league in a row, no year in between, I think that's some achievement. I don't know whether any coach have done that in any country yet. So these are people we definitely owe a lot, and we will continue thanking them and praying for their welfare and good health.
Well,
those who are still living.
Well, Uncle Bonu, we also want to thank you too. We want to thank you also for what you've done for your country. I think you are a legend and you're a hero. You've been involved, just like I said not too long ago, in Gambian football over 4 decades now, and you're still going strong. We just want to pray for you too and your family, and just hope that you'll be around for a little bit more to guide some of these young kids that we have. And we just want to take this opportunity once again and just thank you very much for your service to your country.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and I appreciate all you have done and you are doing to promote the legends of the Gambia. Thank you so much, you two, Muru Thomas and Pastor.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.